يا هلا 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 حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا يا هلا ويا هلا ويا
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program from a very wet and cold Johannesburg. This is Let's Talk, and a reminder that you need to brace yourself for a very, very cold and wet following few days. It is predicted that here in Gauteng, we're in for an unseasonal cold snap starting tomorrow, so be warned. Before we get on to the program for this morning on Let's Talk, just a very quick reminder that if you haven't heard yet, north of our borders, all eyes are focused on Zimbabwe. There is an alleged coup playing out, so that is the big international breaking news, and I'm sure you want to keep abreast of what's happening north of our borders in Zimbabwe. And about time, perhaps. There needs to be a change in leadership in that part of the world, but let's see what happens. On Let's Talk this morning, I'm very excited. We have some amazing guests standing by to talk to us. We're going to be looking at street people, their lives. These are the people we prefer to ignore, or we believe that they're invisible and live in their own invisible worlds. We're going to try and look at these people who are also people, and they are very visible, and hopefully if you and I can make a difference in their lives. We're also going to be talking about a mentorship program with Feed, and I think it's Threads of Hope who've partnered up with Feed. But right now, we're going to be talking about those little darlings in our lives. You know, if you're a new mom, I know that it's been 9 months of waiting and planning, and you can't wait for this little angel to come into your life. But once they're in your lives and they start becoming demanding, very especially with sleep time, if they're not sleeping very well, we're pulling out our hair and we're kind of asking ourselves, what on earth is going wrong? Well, in comes something or an organization called Baby Love. They're here to support you through those moments where you believe that you want to give up. Jackie Flint is the founder of the company Baby Love, and she's going to talk to us about how you can help get your child into a proper sleeping habit and how you also can have some sanity in your life. Jackie, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Lovely to have you here. Tell us how and why did you start Sleep Baby Love?
So we had a son, Cameron. Well, we still have him. But he slept through from 4 months, which was brilliant. He even cut his teeth at 4 months, and that didn't affect the routine. And then when he was about 8 months, he cut more teeth, and that threw the whole routine out. And he was waking up throughout the night. And the only way we knew at that stage how to get him back to sleep was to sit next to his cot and pat him. But ultimately what that led to was him learning that he could only fall asleep if somebody sat there and patted him.
Oh dear.
So it led to us being up about 7 times a night. We took turns and would go through, sit there, pat him. Sometimes it took 10 seconds, sometimes it took a minute. Sometimes we'd be patting, we would stop, he would turn around, he would smile at us, and we'd have to carry on patting again. And that went on for about, 10 weeks of no sleep. And it didn't only affect my hubby and I, but it affected our son, because everyone was tired, everyone was grumpy and impatient. And it actually got to a point where I loved my child, but I didn't like him anymore because no one was sleeping. We were both holding down full-time jobs and we weren't functioning at work. And it's actually a very scary space to be in, that sleep deprivation, which is a form of torture. It eventually starts breaking down the family unit. We implemented Baby Love, which is not only about sleep training, but it's also about looking at a child's routine and making sure that the day routine is in line with the child's age. And it wasn't easy initially because we're changing behavior And it normally takes 3 days to create an unhealthy habit, but 21 to create a healthy habit. So we were very committed to the process. 7 days of sleep training in total, but 21 days of sticking to the routine is what we did. And after 7 days, the child could fall asleep unassisted. He was linking his sleep cycles. He was going back to sleeping between 10 to 12 hours at night without waking. And then obviously we were sleeping by default. So Baby Love changed our life considerably, and that's what we wanted to do. Initially, the consultations that we held, my hubby was present in the consultation with me to also support the dad. And then after a while, I was running with the consultation solely. And the whole idea behind Baby Love is to, I think, make parents understand that the sleepless nights don't have to go on forever, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It can be addressed, it can be fixed. It's going to take hard work and tears, but it's worth it in the long run.
Incidentally, we had one of your consultants, Fatima Musa from KZN. She was here a couple of months ago talking to us about Baby Love. And I think this is something that, we can always continue talking about, because you have new moms tuning in, on a regular basis. So it's nice to share this type of information with them. Now, apart from, regulating the child's sleeping patterns and behavior, is there anything else that Baby Love would assist mom and dad with as far as their newborns or their toddlers are concerned?
So you've got toddlers, for example. So we also have a program, a module that focuses on toddlers. And what's interesting with Toddler Love is that we focus on sleep, because some of them are still not sleeping. They may be co-sleeping or they're walking around the house. But there we also focus on various discipline methods. And we also focus on parenting, because a lot of parents are not parenting off the same page. So when we sit down in a consultation, we'll say to the parents, well, do you agree on your discipline methods? Do you agree on your parenting approach? And a lot of parents aren't. So Toddler Love is a lot more geared towards the discipline and the parenting, because by the time you're sitting with a 4 or 5-year-old who isn't sleeping, a lot of that is due to a lack of discipline. And sometimes it's simply because parents know they need to do something, but they're not sure what. So Toddler Love, the consultant, would sit down and find out what is going on in the home, and they would support them in all those areas, as well as the potty training and how to deal with temper tantrums. Whereas with Baby Love, depending on the age, because Baby Love goes from our parents who are pregnant, we say, come and see us before you have your baby.
Why is that?
There is nothing worse, and now this is just me personally. When we brought Cameron home from hospital, first time mom, didn't have a clue, and we walked in and that door closed behind me, I froze. I stood there and I thought, what do I do? If this child cries, what do I do? What does it mean? How often do I feed him? That was so overwhelming for me. So we say to our pregnant couples, see us beforehand. Let us sit down with you and explain to you, when you bring that baby home, this is what we not expect, but this is what we recommend that you do in regards to the feeding, whether it's bottle feeding or breastfeeding, how often they should be sleeping during the day, how long those sleeps should be, how long they should be awake for, how the growth spurts can affect all of that, how many night feeds you can expect them to have, how do you know if my baby's taking in a full feed or if my baby is snacking, and if my baby is snacking, how do we break those unhealthy snacking habits, when should they be sleeping through the night, So the whole idea is to prepare those parents, give them the tools and the knowledge, so when they come home, hopefully they're not so overwhelmed and they feel more confident. And then they've always got the consultant that they can contact afterwards, after the consultation. They can email her, they can phone her, bounce ideas off her, ask her questions. So we really start from the pregnancy stage. And then the idea is that you then the consultant walks the journey the parenting journey with their client up until Toddler Love, because then we've got our 3 to 12 month program. There we're dealing with children who are teething, different ages, different age appropriate routines, different sleep training methods. Then we have our 12 month to 2-year-old age group, totally different ball game again, because now we have children who are perhaps in their beds and walking out their beds. I had a mom, she found her child around about 20 months in the kitchen unpacking the cupboard at 2 o'clock in the morning, because he could walk out the bedroom. So we're there to also support our moms after the consult, our moms and dads.
So Jackie, what you're saying is that Baby Love is not only about training babies to sleep through the night, for example, but it's also, so don't wait for baby to be there and then check out to see, I've got a problem child on my hands, I've got a baby that's not sleeping, I've got a very unsettled baby. Rather consult with Baby Love, possibly in the last trimester, I should imagine.
About 4 to 6 weeks before your baby's due.
All right.
Yeah.
So that you are now almost, you're well armed and prepared to welcome this little toddler into the world.
Yeah.
And you may not necessarily, you may be one of those very lucky parents that won't have any issues at all.
Correct.
But you've been given a lot of background supporting information.
That's it.
From Baby Love. And in the event of some form of emergency, Baby Love is a phone call away.
So not only is the consultant there to support you if things go pear-shaped, but you also have that tools and that knowledge, because you will walk away with a manual. So you've always got material that you can refer back to if you're unsure of anything. So it's the material that you get as part of the consultation, and then it's also the after consultation support from your consultant. So we don't just have a consultation with you and then say, well, off you go, good luck, hope it works. You know, we're there to support you if it's not working. And if it is working, we'd love to know about it, because then we want to have your success story that we can put on our website, we can put on the Baby Love Facebook page, because that just, when other parents are reading, it motivates them. They can sit there and say, okay, well, I'm not the only person who's going through this. There are other parents out there that are also getting up at 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, have been up since 4 this morning. Because a lot of the time when you are going through that sleep deprivation, you really believe that you're on your own, that you're the only person, you have failed as a parent. And we want parents out there to know that's not the case.
Right, let's go for our first ad break. Jackie Flint is our first guest. We're talking Baby Love, we're talking sleep therapy, and a whole host more after this ad break. Still to come on the show, Street People and another organisation called Threads of Hope. But right now, we're talking Baby Love with Jackie Flint. Now, Jackie, after that first consult, let's assume you've had the consult pre the arrival of baby, and you've had 3 months of absolute bliss, no problems with sleeping patterns or any such thing, no consultation, no follow-up phone calls or anything of the sort. You've been lucky then, and you didn't have to get in touch with Baby Love at all.
Okay.
Would it still be a good idea to follow on after baby's 3 months old, just to kind of be prepared for what's coming in the future as baby grows?
Absolutely, because that's where we fell down. So Cameron slept through from 4 months, but how he did it, we don't know. And when the wheels fell off and he was now waking up 7 times at night when he was about 8 months old, we had no idea how to sort it out, because we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to get him back onto the routine, because we didn't know how he got there in the first place. So we say to our parents, if things are going well, the idea is still have a consultation, because should things fall by the wayside, now at least you've got the tools, you've got the knowledge, you know how to go in and address it. It's nice to be prepared and know what to expect at the different ages, because as your child grows, things will change. And we want parents to be aware of what to expect, so as they change, they can start fine-tuning the routine so that it's still in line with their baby's age. We consult with parents who have like a 7-month-old, but the 7-month-old is on a routine that is more suited to a 12-month-old, and then they can't understand why things aren't working. So as long as you are aware of what your baby should be doing at the different ages, and that's what we will prepare you for, then things will go smooth sailing. There's no guarantee. They get sick, you go on holiday, children tease, you know, things are thrown out.
What are the success rates with Baby Love? And I should imagine we're all human, we're all different.
Yeah.
That you would have had situations where things just didn't work out. What do you do in situations like that? So it's your success rate and failures.
So, you know what, it's like life. There is no guarantee. You can take a horse to water, but you can't guarantee they're going to drink. So we are saying to our moms and dads that Baby Love is an option. If you want to implement it, and if we're dealing with a healthy child whose needs you have met, and the parents are committed and they persevere and they are consistent, then there's no reason why it won't work. I'll give you an example. I have a mom now, she has twins, they're 8 months old, and the one twin has fallen onto the program beautifully. The other twin, not so easy. So now she phoned me yesterday and we're in constant contact with each other. We're tweaking a couple of things. We're trying a couple of other things. So it may not be the baby love way anymore, but we're thinking out the box because what I had originally suggested isn't working. So now we need to try and find other ways to try and accommodate this baby. So it's when we don't hear back from our parents that we know that it's working because they don't need us anymore. It's when we hear from them that we know, okay, they're battling now, we need to help them, get them back on track and whatever the case is. And also, I think moms and dads need to know that there's no guarantee that you won't have to implement sleep training more than once. So with our daughter, we did sleep training with her 3 times because she got sick and then everything was thrown out. Then we had to go back in with the boundary. And that's something else that I want parents to really, really get their heads around, is that sleep training, parents see it as a monster. Sleep training is a boundary. That's all that it is. And it's one of many boundaries that you'll be setting with your children. Children will constantly push the boundaries. Parents carry on setting boundaries until that child leaves home. So as long as the boundary is fair and age appropriate and mom and dad are presenting a united front, then it's absolutely fine to be firm with that boundary. So
you indicated that obviously things would probably go very well till baby falls ill or whatever. So then he falls out of the routine and you may have to reintroduce the therapy to baby or the toddler. So how long does it take to train baby into a normal or a good sleeping pattern, both for baby and for parents?
So it's baby dependent, firstly, and it's also dependent on the sleep method, the sleep training method that the parents use. Also dependent on the age of the baby. So I'm going to give you my personal experience. Cameron was 7 or 8 months old. We implemented sleep training. We implemented a firm method with him, and it took 7 days. Now, that is long. Because when I get feedback from my parents now and they have applied the firm method, a lot of them are saying between 3 and 4 days, it's done. If we're dealing with, say, a 15-month-old and we go in with more of a tender approach, I expect it to take longer because we're dealing with an older baby.
Tender approach, what's that?
Well, we're going to be more hands-on as opposed to not so hands-on. So it really depends on the method, the age, and the baby, and then obviously if the parents are going to persevere. So again, 3 days to create an unhealthy habit, 21 days to create a healthy habit. If you have to implement sleep training a second or a third time, like we did with our daughter, the last time we did sleep training with her, she was 14 months old, took 1 day, and she bounced back. So baby love is all about build your foundation, so that when life happens and throws everything out, your child's got that foundation to bounce back to. If your child doesn't by himself, the parents have the tools and the knowledge. So now they guide their baby back, and it's like muscle memory. They'll bounce back a lot quicker and a lot easier the second or the third time than they would the first, because first time round it's new. We're changing the comfort zone, and everyone needs to just get used to the new way of doing things.
In this day of the technical age, obviously everything is available at the push of a button, so to speak. So young moms and couples listening and watching us this morning, probably thinking, why do I need to consult with Baby Love? Why do I need to pay a fee, etc., etc., etc.? I can just go to the net, Google, and find all the necessary relevant information and institute my own frame of Baby Love or sleep therapy. How do you respond to that?
So I think it works in some cases, and I think in other cases there is so much information, whether it's the books, internet, family, friends, and all the information contradicts each other. So often we find in consultations moms are crying, and it's because they no longer know what their gut is telling them. They are so confused because of all this information that they don't know what to do anymore. And we say to our parents, what is nice about Baby Love is that you're sitting with a consultant who's personally been through the sleep deprivation herself. She knows the negative impact it has on the family. She's successfully implemented Baby Love, so she understands what it takes to do it. And now she's reaping the reward. So for a parent to know that is far more personal. For the parent to know, I can phone you if I am battling. You can't phone the internet. You can't phone a book and say, clarify this for me.
Sure.
You can with your consultant. So I think that's what makes Baby Love unique, is that all the consultants, all of us, we've been down that road. We know exactly what it means to be sleep deprived. We know what it means to implement the sleep training, but we know how it can benefit the entire family. And I think that's the difference.
Jackie, when will you tell a couple, parents, that I believe that sleep therapy is not working for your little one because there's something possibly medically wrong with baby, and you need to take baby to the pediatrician or whatever the case may be? What is it and how is it that you would get to that point?
So we try and address that before. So what we do is, before we meet with a couple, we ask them to fill in a very simple questionnaire. And one of the standard questions is, are we dealing with a healthy baby? Now, if we are not, or if the parent is, I'm not so sure, then we say, go to the GP or go to the pediatrician and make sure you get a clean bill of health first. Once you've got that clean bill of health, then we know, okay, now we're dealing with bad habits, unhealthy sleep associations. It's fine to be firm with our boundary. So I would say that 100%, actually every client that I've dealt with, their baby is healthy.
However, should someone come to you with a baby that has some sort of a medical problem?
It depends on what it is, in all honesty. So I have dealt with parents who've got Down syndrome babies.
Are you able to work with them?
And I've had to just clarify with a pediatrician, can I help a Down syndrome baby? And the answer is yes, because your Down syndrome babies, they need structure, they need routine. It gives them a sense of security. So I think it really depends on what that medical condition is. I have had situations where I've had feedback from my mom, things are going really well, baby's been sleeping through, let's say it's now 2 weeks on the program, things are going super. All of a sudden, boom, baby's waking up at night. That's odd. Why? Let's look at the routine during the day. It's spot on. Okay. Babies, I'm like, you know what? Let's go and make sure that child is okay. And sometimes there's been an ear infection. So what we have found along the way is that if you're sitting with a child who is on an age-appropriate daytime routine, who is healthy, and there are no bad habits, our baby can fall asleep unassisted and is sleeping through the night, and then all of a sudden starts waking up, often that is a good indication there's an issue. There's something underlying. And then we need to address that with the GP or the ped.
Issues around babies that, I'm thinking of toddlers now, that start bedwetting. Is that going to obviously interrupt their sleep patterns?
Is this part of potty training?
No, I'm talking about, let's assume you have toddlers that are having a problem with sleep. With their sleep habits, and you then go in and work with the parents, and toddler sleeps so well that they start bedwetting because they're sleeping right through all of that.
Oh, I see what you mean. They're in such a deep sleep that they don't get up and go to the loo.
So I'm trying to think, also what are the pros and cons here. So let's look at that situation first. And if there are other pros and cons as far as deep sleep is concerned, or is sleep therapy not about deep sleep?
No, it is. You need deep sleep. When a child sleeps, and I'm talking babies and toddlers, so you have your light sleep cycle, deep sleep cycle. Okay. Now, they need the deep sleep cycle because when they are sleeping, their body produces serotonin, and that's a hormone that makes them grow. So not only are they growing while they are sleeping, but also when they wake up and they are well rested, then their awake time will be good quality awake time. They're open to learning, receiving stimulation. So that deep sleep is imperative. When it comes to children who are in such a deep sleep and they are wetting their bed, I'm actually not sure how to deal with that.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty. We've got 2 minutes to wrap up.
Go for it.
I'm not quite sure at what point do children who suffer from ADHD start presenting. Have you had situations where you've had to work with those kids as far as their sleep patterns are concerned?
Normally, if they have been properly diagnosed with ADHD or ADD, as opposed to a sensory situation, because the two can often be misdiagnosed, I believe, they are already on medication for the ADD or the ADHD. So the medication would assist with the sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we've come to the end of the program. Any closing remarks from you as far as healthy sleep habits are concerned and how Baby Love can assist you if you're not winning with your little one?
So I think parents must just remember that the sleep is as important as the awake time, and that in the awake time, your job as a parent is to love and nurture and cherish your baby, but that the sleep and falling asleep unassisted is as important as that. So if you are battling with the sleep, don't only focus on sleep training. You can't do it in isolation. It's very much a holistic approach that Baby Love takes, and that if you are battling, contact a Baby Love consultant and let her help you sort the nonsense out so that you have a child who is sleeping.
Your website address very quickly.
www.babylove.co.za.
Lovely talking to you, and thank you for giving all those new parents lots of hope as far as sleepless nights are concerned.
It's a pleasure.
That was Jackie Flynn talking Baby Love. Obviously the company is called Baby Love, and we were talking sleep therapy. So please don't pull your hair out. I know you may be at the end of your tether, but there is hope out there in the way of Baby Love. Still to come, Threads of Hope and Street People. So stay with us. We're now going to be talking to Threads of Hope in collaboration with Feed, the feeding scheme. Obviously, they don't need an introduction, but for the purposes of this program, let's welcome the two lovely ladies to the show. Dr. Zaida Adams, Assalamu alaikum to you, and Jahan, is it Jahan or Sabina? Sabina Connaught. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam.
Zaida, nice to have you back on the show. I know there was a time that we had you on very, very regularly, but nice to have you back again. What is different as far as Feed is concerned? It's now coming towards the end of the year. Any extra programs that you guys are running, or is it still the normal that you're carrying on with?
Jazakallah for having us on the show. Feed's program extends throughout the year. You know, I think I've spoken about the feeding that we do on a daily basis. But alhamdulillah, our collaboration here is a very special one in that from the time Feed started, you know, it was a vision and a core value that we not only feed people, that we educate and empower individuals. And we've sort of reached a tipping point where we're doing a lot of, we're doing education, but also a lot of empowerment. It's a core value of the organization to ensure that we impart dignity, you know, through giving people the opportunity for autonomy. And that's why empowerment and skills is such an important value and what we've been striving towards over the years. So our association with my online souk and our project Threads of Hope is a mentorship program. It's a sewing skills initiative in which we started it by making commodity that's going to generate income that's now allowed us to offer 12 mentorships starting from January. And this is how we actually met Sabina from my online souk. So I'm going to
I'm going to get to her in a minute. Just remind us, for those viewers who don't know too much about Feed. I know you started it, you are a medical doctor by profession, you still run your practice, but you still seem to have time to take on this amazing feat with Feed. Just very quickly tell us approximately how many people you feed per day and where does the feeding take place?
Alhamdulillah, currently we have the opportunity to feed in the region of about 700 people on a daily basis. Fortunately, Central Islamic Trust in Bree Street have offered us the use of, their infrastructure, and this has allowed our project to grow dramatically. So we cook on a daily basis from there, and we feed up to 350 to 400 people, delivering packed meals. Or otherwise, in huge containers, and they rewarmed at the institutions, and the children are fed a lunch every day. Apart from that, to centres in outlying areas, we provide groceries which are picked up every Tuesday, and those groceries, one of our ladies ensures that the delivery gets executed, and those go to centres where that are residence based, and they cook on site. So together, we're providing meals for about 750 people. We've got initiatives in education. We've got, I think I spoke to you the last time about the garden project. That's
all taking off in a big way.
It's taken off. It's the garden project. Not only are we growing vegetables, but the vegetables are feeding the kids at the school. They are providing nutrition to the wider community, and it's a skill that the kids are acquiring at school. We're teaching the children, the students at the Coronation Training Centre, which is a centre for the disabled, to garden and to grow healthy food options. So there, all our objectives, alhamdulillah, is being realised, and we've been approached by Beit el-Ilm now to set up a garden there. So hopefully that's an initiative for the next year.
Zaida, I must say that you guys are doing amazing work, and this has been long running. I know that you've been running Feed in conjunction with a whole host of volunteers for a very, very long time. Yeah. But it saddens me because waiting in the wings, we're going to be talking to David Gemmell, and he's here to talk. He's a writer, by the way. He's coming with a street person to talk about this invisible world that we are not acknowledging. Mm-hmm. And here you're talking about the amazing work you're doing, and yet we find scores of street people. Doesn't it just break your heart?
It does. In fact, we had the opportunity of chatting to him in the waiting area. Yes. And inshallah, if what we envision bears fruition, then we'd definitely like to bring it to you, because
this was
we've
fated.
Collaborated.
This was fated. Inshallah. Allah brought us together today to talk, and for you to meet David, and hopefully he's going to also spearhead something great and wonderful. Yes. Coming to you, Sabina, lovely to have you in the studio, and tell us your story. How did you start?
Like you say, through fate, we met Dr. Zaida. We were actually looking to do a fashion show event but raising funds for a charity, and we were looking for a charity to adopt, and somehow we came across Feed, and we met with Dr. Zaida, and we just loved everything we had to hear about Feed, and it's the fact that Feed is aiming to create sustainable living for people. And we got together about this project, Threads of Hope, which is upskilling and empowering women with sewing skills.
And I see some gorgeous stuff here at our feet, a gorgeous pillow.
So basically, we have two projects.
And very well done. It's very, very professionally finished.
Yes, it's very well sewn.
It's not cheap rubbish. It's stuff that you'd pay a good couple of $100 for.
Exactly.
You get this in your upmarket stores.
Yes, so basically our relationship is, my online souk is a retail lifestyle store. We have modest clothing, and now with Feed we have homeware products. And so we're using our platform to get Feed the exposure for the sewing mentorship, as well as to sell their products online on our platform.
And then there's something else there. It looks like a
tablecloth, actually.
These are tablecloths, but we do flat sheets, we do duvets. These are just a few products we've brought. And I think it's evident, you can attest to the quality on the product.
Absolutely.
Both in terms of the fabrics and the items used, as well as the finish. Mm-hmm. And like I said, initially we upskilled 2 people to provide a commodity to sell, and that money is going to generate income for us to be able to offer the mentorships. Because when you offer mentorships, we have young girls that are coming from, dire circumstances. Mm-hmm. So what may seem like, a menial stumbling block to most people is a huge thing for them, because they don't have money to pay for transport to come in, to embrace the opportunity of the mentorship. So that is why we need to generate income, both for equipment, to employ people to run the program. And alhamdulillah, we're very fortunate in this collaboration. We're able to draw from, you know, the amazing human capital that our community can make available over the last, 10 decades that we've been in this country, been naturalized in South Africa. And I think it's time that we use this opportunity, you know, to source mentors and the opportunity to acknowledge people who are accomplished and, you know, give them the opportunity to impart, you know, what they've become skilled in. And hopefully see many come through the covers.
Each one teach one, and that way we can just make that circle grow bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Let's take an ad break. I have the two lovely ladies in the studio with me, Dr. Zaida Adam from Feed and Sabina from Threads of Hope.
My online sook.
My online sook, and she's collaborated with Zaida with Threads of Hope. Stay with us. We still have lots more to unpack with the two ladies. We're talking about Threads of Hope with Dr. Zaida Adam and Sabina Connaught. They're here to tell us all about how this collaboration came together. Now, you've been telling me off air that these are just two of the items that you guys are selling. What else do you have?
Well, actually, there's duvet items, there's table placemats, there's more
Flat sheets and pillowcases.
Yes, exactly. And I think as we go along, there'll probably be more and more items. I think we're starting off with homeware, but the hope is also to go into a few fashion items too.
Okay, and I've just been told that you guys launched yesterday, so you're actually launching on my show, which is great. What do you want to tell people watching us this morning? How do you want them to support you as far as the sales of all of this homeware is concerned?
The thing about purchasing these products is you know it's for a greater good. It's purchasing with a purpose. You know that when you purchase this product, you can feel good about it because it's supporting an initiative like Feed. And the money is going into such good use, the profits for this.
And you're uplifting and upskilling young people.
It's a full circle.
All right, even older people. But how does one qualify to become a part of this program? Let's assume people watching us this morning are really in dire states and they believe they've been unemployed forever and a day and they would like some skills so that at least they can put some food on the table. What do you say to them? And how have you chosen the other people on the program?
At the moment, we do have an online nomination form. So whether you're a person who wants to apply for the program itself or you know of someone you would like to nominate, online on the website, you will find a nomination form where you can see the criteria that's required. And basically it is that you're disadvantaged, female and between the ages of 18 to 35. I'm sure we're a bit flexible on that. But
and the website address?
It's myonlinesook.co.za.
Zaida, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, well, I actually wanted Sabina to speak about the nomination form, but apart from that, we've got centres where we feed at. So we've actually asked them to nominate people to put forward. Because out of this, we'd also like to develop a train-the-trainer program where in your... Again, like we do with the feeding, your centres in the more remote areas, we'd like to set up sewing skills at the centre. So inshallah, the income that's generated again from the product that the candidate makes would go towards a fund for that centre to start a sewing skills there. So we've started now with Threads of Hope, which is a 12-week mentorship program, and that's teaching basic sewing skills, garment making, clothing. Apart from that, we're also seeking to ensure that the person who works through the program or graduates from the program gets a good dose of entrepreneurship. If they're very skilled, we would also look at potentially employing them if they're not going back to their centres to teach. If they choose to go back to the centres to teach, we're looking at a second tier where the program we'd like to call is Tailoring Hope. And that is the person who has excelled in the initial 12-week mentorship program, we would then put into the Tailoring Hope. And when you get through that, inshallah, then you're probably skilled enough for us to start another sewing initiative at a different site. So we hope to grow the initiative both on site and at other sites. And we're very happy to work with, other organizations, other NGOs to see this realized. Inshallah, we'd like to spread our wings so more people benefit. And I think, just the thought that hopefully, 12 girls would successfully complete a course every 12 weeks. So when I say 12 girls, we're taking nominations from the centers that we uplift. But over and above that, CIT's also got, social
CIT
grant.
being Central Islamic
Central
Trust.
Islamic Trust. And, they've supported us in most of our initiatives. So, inshallah, we'd also like to tap into families who are, supported by the social grant, but the youth in those families. Because we actually want to break the chain of putting your hand out.
Absolutely.
We believe that, education, empowerment, development allows you dignity and autonomy, and that's what Feed is about.
Instead of giving them a fish, give them a fishing rod and teach them to fish for themselves for the rest of their lives.
Yes, and those are our aspirations. So inshallah, with everyone's du'as, we're hoping
you've talked about the Threads of Hope in the mentorship program. What else is in the pipeline going forward with 2 minutes to wrap up time?
We do an initiative in education. So there we work to inspire. The impact goal is to inspire education. We use a movie called Girl Rising. It's part of an international global movement to spur on education. And then as far as development is concerned, we like to see a lot more gardens, food gardens or food farms, being developed under Feed. And we'd like to grow the sewing skills. And inshallah, when you talk to the next gentleman,
David,
that's our next project. We're working with the Hillbrow Masjid to take off children, street children.
People off the streets.
Feed, and Sheikh Mohammed has actually got a brilliant program that he'd like to initiate, and inshallah I'd like you to interview him because he has such good energy. When you speak to, he's the imam of the masjid, but when you speak to him, you just want to help him because of he's got such innovative ideas, and a lot of them are directed towards dawah.
So inshallah, I definitely will hook up with him. Your closing remarks, Sabina, the lovely Sabina.
I think just basically that I'm so honored actually to be working with Dr. Zaida and Feed.
And so please, people watching us this morning, support.
Yes.
Buy all your household goodies, your pillows, your sheets, your tablecloths and everything else. And I think they're going to be introducing more and more stuff on the range. So let's support them, knowing that it's going to a very, very worthy cause. Girls, so wonderful having you on the show. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you to continue your amazing work by touching lives in such a positive way. That was Dr. Zaida Adam and Sabina Kona talking to us about Threads of Hope. Still to come, Street People with David Gemmell. Welcome back. The final segment of the show, we're talking to David Gemmell and his friend, who is a street person in studio with us this morning. We do hope that, I think the story is going to touch you because it did touch me. I heard the story 2 weeks ago and have not stopped talking and thinking about it. David Gemmell, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Julie.
Your friend next to you is a juggler, a street person that you met by chance, by accident?
I tried to run him over.
Okay, why?
He juggled, and he juggled very well, but when he finished juggling, he stood in front of my car, and I thought, well, if you don't move, I'm going to run you over, because like everybody else, I get very annoyed with these street people. They're all over, they're in your face and everything else. Anyway, fortunately, I missed, and as I was going up the road, he was waving angrily at me, and I thought, I'll get you next time. This is how it happened. And then I thought, that's not helping. A better way would be to go find out why he stood in front of my car. Why was he... It
was nagging your conscience, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I also feel a bit guilty about, all around these people, and I can't help all of them. I do give them money, and I'm friendly to them. And then you get somebody who's been sort of irritating. And I thought what I'd do is rather go find out why he did it. And then it started, I went to the Saturday Star and said, would you be interested in a series? And they said they'd love to.
You do write regularly for the Saturday Star?
No.
You just started now?
Yeah, I write for I have written for almost every newspaper in the country, but I'm a freelance writer. So when I've got something, I go to them and say, are you interested? And then that's what happened. The editor of Saturday Stock, Kashifa Ajam, I'm not sure how to pronounce her surname, but she said,
correct.
she said, okay, she said, let's do it. And she's just backed it, and she's done it very well. And it's just rolled on from one interview to another.
You do realize you can't leave it there. We were talking off air, and I said to you that street people are kind of under my skin as well, and guilty as charged. I look at them for that moment, probably avoid making eye contact, because if I do make eye contact, it's going to haunt me for the rest of the day or for a couple of days. But I do wonder, what's their story? What's brought you to the street corner? And like you, I too get very fed up. But I prefer, like a whole host of people out there, I prefer them to remain in their invisible world and for me to get on with my life. But since you've written the story, you've touched me. I can't stop thinking about the street people. And you've heard Dr. Zaida earlier on.
Yes.
They've got a whole host of projects running, but it doesn't matter how many people come together and how many initiatives we run. I don't think we'll ever be able to fulfill the needs of all the poor, hungry people in the country.
I think that's the dilemma everybody involved with charity faces, is there's just so many. So what do you know, I had to ask myself, you know, after getting involved with 1, 2, 3, and then there's another one, and each story is, some of them are worse than the others, and that the dilemma is do you do nothing because you can't help them all, or do you just help the ones you can? And so my decision...
The starfish analogy.
Okay, so my decision is each week I'll find a new one, go find out what their story is, and if something good comes of it, you know, maybe I've helped somebody. Whereas before I wasn't helping anyone, you know.
Okay. How did you land up on the streets? David tells me that you're an amazing juggler. Yes. How did you learn to juggle, and why have you decided to stand on street corners and juggle?
Well, I used to be a very bad person at first as I was still young. So I went to prison. So when I came out of prison, I found my brother starting to do this by the corners of the roads in Eastgate. So I also got interested in it, so I started performing, and it's how...
So you're on the streets every day.
Yes.
Today we have very bad weather in Johannesburg, it's raining. Does that mean you don't eat for today because it's raining, you're not going to collect any money?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately how much money do you make a day?
Well, it's days differ, you know. Sometimes someone will come and give you more money from others. Okay, sometimes I would say $200, $250, $300 when it's a good time, you know. Yeah.
David, you've met a lot of street people. You've met I think the suit man, the man in the suit.
Yes.
There are a whole host of them. When you start engaging with them to tell you their story, are they expecting something in return?
No.
They're just happy to share their story.
Yeah, they tell me their troubles, and I say, you know, I'm not here to look after you and to finance you. Otherwise, I'll end up on the street corner hoping somebody would come and write about me, you know. No, I just sit down and say, tell me your story. And so far, most of them are dead keen to chat. I think they'd all like someone to listen to them. And so I sit and listen to them, and I put it out exactly as it happens. I don't try and, you know, I mean, I don't leave out that Kutlang was in jail, you know, I mean, you know, in case people hate him because he's been in jail. That's rubbish. I put it in, and you must make up your own mind.
And one needs to ask what took him to jail.
Yeah,
what were the circumstances that led up to that?
Yeah,
Not that we're making excuses, but we need to obviously look at the background to that issue as well.
Yeah. So really, I mean, they're all keen to tell their story, and when I follow up, you know, I always take them a paper when the interview comes out, because, you know, they can't really take their money that they're earning to go read an interview in a paper they know nothing about. So on the Saturday it comes out, I go drop one off, and they never want anything from me. And then, you know, later in the week I go along to see if their life's improved. I say, what's happened since? And inevitably something good's happened. Somebody said, I saw you in the paper, and they give them some money, or they bring them some food, or whatever. but I don't think any of them have ever asked me for anything. They do tell me things are bad or it hasn't been a good week or anything else, but they've never asked me for anything.
There's a story going around, it could possibly be an urban legend, and maybe you too can add to it, is that the women on street corners with babies are part of a syndicate. Have you looked into that?
You know, Julie, there's so many of them, and I've got a list from the public have sent me, and all my friends now give me, oh, you've got to interview this one. And on the list are quite a number of these women with children, but I haven't got there yet. I haven't spoken to one of them. But, you know, I think if I do get one, or when I get to one, I will ask them, you know, is this your child? And, you know, and I'll ask them about the syndicate thing. You know, it's like the guy I interviewed last week, a young 29-year-old, very nice chap. And he kept telling me about he had this job and he was qualified at this and qualified at that. And eventually I said to him, too many jobs. I said, why do you change your job so often? And he said, well, I'm young. He said, and the first job I had was I think it was a restaurant manager. And he said, I couldn't take the hours. I wanted to go out and be young. So the answer was quite valid. And I said, have you ever had trouble with alcohol or substance abuse? And he said, no, I don't drink. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he said, I don't. And he looked me in the eye. And then when I said substance abuse, he sort of looked a bit, and I thought, oh, I got him. And he said, I smoke. And I said, that's not substance abuse. So, you know, I don't leave it if there is that rumor going around. I have heard those, but I've heard a lot of legends, and none of them so far have actually actualized when talking to the people. So I would ask them about that.
What do you dream and hope for as far as your life is concerned? Do you see being on the streets your destiny, or do you want to make a change in your life?
No, to be honest, I like to make a change. So this street thing, I took it as a way from staying away from doing wrong things, like keep myself busy and put food on the table, you know. So I'm planning to go further with it.
David, you've interviewed quite a number of street people and you've seen whole lots more. Which story has affected you the most? Which story has gone straight to your heart? And I know they're all very sad stories.
Yeah, it's hard to grade them. It's almost unfair, you know. Well, none of them, I think, watch TV. They're presumably on the street at the moment, but they'll be going, my story is much worse than that. But the little hunchback chap, Zoraya, on Bumpus Road, I mentioned, you know, I've seen him there so long, and I'd interviewed Kutlang, and then the next guy was the Jonathan who sells pens on Jan Smuts, and his story was interesting. And then I thought, I've had an entertainer, I've had a salesman, and I've had a black guy, a white guy, and then I thought I'd get somebody who's deformed, you know, and go and find out what their story was. So I knew him. I mean, I knew he was there. I'd never spoken to him, the little hunchback. And I said to some of my mates, they all said, who's your next one? And I said, I'll go and interview him. And the one guy said, oh, he can't speak. And another one said he's retarded. And another one said he's dangerous. And it just got more and more interesting. So I thought I have to go and interview him. So I pulled up and on a little lay-by near where he was. And when he got free, I called him over and I told him what I wanted to do. And he happily climbed in my car. I gave him a Coke and we sat and we were chatting. And I said, you know, one of the questions was, tell me about your hump. When you were small, did the other kids tease you? And he gave me a long, complicated story, which ended with him being a small kid, and they were playing with him, and they hung him on a water pump, and he fell off it, and he hit his back on a concrete wall surrounding it and broke it. So I said to him, so you weren't born like it? And his English was quite good, but he looked at me and he big smile and he said, no, I wasn't born like this, and he pointed it up. But then he was put in hospital and he said they straightened him out and everything else, big operation on his back. This is in Mozambique. And he said in the middle of the one night, a doctor came and picked him up to move him to another bed, and that was when it happened. That was the problem. So it turned the whole interview on its head, because I'd gone there to see a chap who'd been born deformed and how it helped. He wasn't. He was maimed by somebody. And the interview took a whole different course.
Two careless accidents.
Yeah. But it turned out, I mean, he just was the most amazingly positive guy. Turns out he's got a wife. He lives very nicely, he says, in a room in Tembisa, and he very proudly told me he's not only got a TV in his room, but he's got a fridge. Wow. And he got so happy when he told me that. Was like, and he's got a daughter. So it turned everything on its head. I mean, I, in my own way thought, the poor guy's got nothing, just earning his money. He's got a wife, he's got a child. He walks up and down the road there. And then I said to him, are you bitter? He said, about what? And I said, about your back. Oh, no, he said. I said, are you not angry with that doctor and the people who dropped you? And he said, no. And it was almost as if he was surprised. He said, God meant me to be like this. Right. And I promise you, you get to the point where you can't ask the next question. You go, oh, okay.
It makes us question our situations and how we're not grateful. I think we often forget just how blessed we are, and we just want more and more and more. We're going and looking and working towards the next big thing in our lives, forgetting this invisible world, or we'd like them to be invisible. But let's take an ad break. I'm talking to David Gemmell and Khutlang.
Yes.
He's in studio with us. He's a juggler. He can't do any tricks here, but we're going to ask him a few questions after the ad break. Stay with us. Khutlang. My guests are Khutlang, he's a street person, and David Gemmell. David's a writer. He's written for many of the major newspapers. Currently, he's running a series in the Saturday Star, and the series is on the very thing we're talking about, street people. Khutlang, if somebody watching us this morning decides that they want to take you off the streets and they want to give you a job to get your life back together again, I have no doubt that you are able to put food on the table. You juggle every day and you collect a couple of 50, 100, couple of hundred rands, and you take that home and you're able to eat. But do you want something different in your life?
Yes, if it can come out a good thing, it's good, because I can't focus on one thing. And it's because I don't know where my destiny is. I should try.
What sort of a job would you like to have?
Well, I did business studies, so what I can do is like a receptionist. I can work as a receptionist. I can work as a chairperson.
Anybody, if somebody calls you and offers you a job, would you do any job that they offer you? Perhaps cleaning, or maybe packing goods in a store, or anything at all? Would you consider the job?
Yes. Yes. I don't think there's a problem as long as it brings something.
How long have you been on the streets?
Since 2010, I started doing juggling.
So you're on the streets for 7 years.
Yes.
Have you ever worried about, David nearly ran you over because he was cross.
Yes.
Have you ever been run over? No. Are you ever worried about it? That you may be involved in an accident standing on a street corner and begging for food or money?
Yes, ma'am. I know it happens. I expect that anything can happen, but now I have no choice. I have to get something to eat in order to survive. So, I keep my eyes open all the time for it. I have plans for it.
David, you want to add something?
I just want to comment on that. Would he take any job as cleaning or anything else? It would be a waste of an amazing talent. The very starting point of all of this is why I noticed him, was he was so good. There's lots of these jugglers out there. He is astonishing. When I saw him, I thought, you should be on the world stage. You shouldn't be standing here at streetlights. I mean, he is phenomenal. One day, if you get the chance, just drive down and watch him. You will not believe what you see.
For the benefit of our viewers, tell us where which is his corner that he juggles at.
He stands on the corner of Republic and Nickel Highway. And coming from the Joburg side, he stands in, he's now got his unicycle, which the reason we've got it here is just, I'll make a point about that if you don't mind. But when I met him and I said to him, you're brilliant, I've just never seen a juggler like you. And I watched them all. he is astonishing. So to offer him a job would be just burying his talent. Not that he has to be a juggler, but he could be an entertainer. He could run an entertainment agency because he can do it, so he knows. You know, in my head, that's just the way I see the way forward for him. But the unicycle, while he was talking to me when I interviewed him, he said, I can do all this stuff with clubs, with everything else, and I can even ride a unicycle and juggle and walk on stilts and everything else. The unicycle interested me. I said, so why don't you? He says, I haven't got one, I can't afford one. So I put that in the article, and it was 2 weeks later, a friend of mine, he wants to remain anonymous, and I always give his name, Willie Wales, said, Gemmell, how much does a unicycle cost? And I said, I don't know, but I'll look it up. And I told him, and he gave me the money. He said, go buy him one. He still hasn't even come and seen Kutlang, and he has, you know, it wasn't about him. It was just he thought, here's something that'll help somebody. And then I got the unicycle for him. And now the way you'll recognize him, this is back to the point of the story, on the corner of Republic and Nickel Highway, you'll see him, he's the guy on the unicycle. He goes up and down, and no, he usually juggles on his feet, then he gets on the unicycle to hopefully collect some money. Yeah.
Someone may argue that fine, he is very talented, as you say, and you'd hate to see this talent going to waste. But if nobody comes forward and offers him a job in the entertainment industry or the entertainment space, but offers him an office bound or any other job, don't you think that would be the better option than being on a street corner?
Sure, but what he should do is take the job if he wants, you know, he must decide. But he must pursue this dream of what he's doing. He's too good to give it up now. He really is. I mean, you don't do something as well as this and let it go to waste. And there are ways and means that he can learn to market himself, or he can give out posters, or he can do children's parties. He's very good with kids. He works at the cycle lab on Saturdays, and the kids just follow him around.
Wow.
And they choose, you know. It's not as if you say, go watch the guy. They just follow him around. Sure. They like it. So he could do kids' parties and things. You know, doing a kids' party every Saturday would cover his expenses for a month. Mm-hmm. And it would mean he has to be in the road less and less. I don't really know. I mean, this is not my game. But when I think it through, that's how I see it. But to bury him in an office, there's a million people with degrees and more experience than him. He'd get lost.
David, you've started something. I know you're running the series. It's going to come to an end at some point. But you do know you've started something. I'm the first one to admit that I avoid eye contact with people or engaging with them, street people, because it's going to haunt me for the rest of my life, because I'm going to have to take account for engaging with them. You've started something. How are you going to see it through?
Yeah, you know, in the beginning I was wondering how am I going to get out of this, you know. But I'm enjoying it, and each interview brings something new, you know, in the way of a surprise to me, or some astonishment at how other people respond to it and everything else. So what is the way forward? The way forward I see, just in very general terms, I've just been trying to put something in my head together, is they all want something different. His requirement is different to, say, the knitting lady. She wants to start a knitting school. The guy
Sorry, just to interrupt you there. Please put her in touch with Dr. Zaida.
Yeah, well, that's why we connected. Yeah. But I've lost my train. The broom salesman in Parktown North, welcome. I mean, he is such a nice chap, and he's got his child in a very good school, and he lives nicely. Wow. But he sells brooms, and he doesn't want to do that. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to work in a restaurant. So what he needs is now different. She wants a knitting school. He wants to work in a restaurant. Johannes, the guy who sells roses in Beyers Nordia and off the highway, has been there for so long, it's just frightening. And he supports 9 people.
Sure. I must tell you, these people at night, and very especially late at night on the weekends, I see them standing on the corner selling roses. Yeah. And, you know, just as I speak, I've got a lump in my throat, because I wonder, I'm on my way home to a very comfortable house and bed. What's their outlook like? They're still standing with a whole host of roses, flowers that needs to be sold because they need to take food home for their families. And I wonder about them.
Okay, but listen to his story. He supports 9 people, himself and 8 others. He's got a child who's 27 years old in a wheelchair, can't feed himself. So his wife has to be there. She can't go get a job and feed him. And I said to him, if I gave you a little money, what would you like to do? And he said he'd like to open a little spaza store. I think the money involved there would be about 10,000 rand, set him up. I don't know, I'm just guessing, which is not a lot of money. I could probably raise that in a 2 weeks through my friends, are all very generous. Or the public would come forward. But he doesn't know how to run a spaza shop. He knows how to buy roses and sell them. And the reason they're there late at night, because that's when the market's good. You get guilty people driving, you know, guilty boyfriends coming home. You get romantic boyfriends, they all
Guilty husbands.
Yeah. So that's why they're there at that time. So it's not
so it's a strategy.
Wow. They know what
Okay.
they're doing. But he doesn't know how to run a spaza shop. Now, nothing would be more depressing for me than to set Johannes up, because he wants to be at home so he can be with his kid and his family and his wife. That's why he wants to run a spaza shop at home. But nothing would be more depressing than giving him the money, setting him up, and then he doesn't make it work because he doesn't know about little things like cash flow, stock, buying, you know, whatever. He might buy too many of the wrong thing. I don't know, I'm just working this out in my head. So what he would need is a little business course, a mini accounting course or something. Okay, so now we have the knitting girl needs something different, to the broom man who wants to learn to be a chef, to the Johannes who wants to do a spaza shop. So there are 3 different things. The way I see this working is we get a central coordinator, and I've got a lady, Patricia Crane, she wants to do this more than anything. And she would do all the organizing and everything else. Okay, so we'd need funds to run it. How would we get the funds? This is just a loose thought. You know, I lie around thinking about this when I'm bored. I would say the message is this: is adopt a street person. Now, you don't know one. You don't know one you want to adopt. So you adopt a metaphoric street person. So what you do is you find what you could allocate. Look, if you counted your change that you're giving to these people in a month, it would be 50, 100 bucks, whatever. So why not allocate a lump sum, 100 bucks, to the central fund, and that would be your metaphoric street person. So you've adopted one now, and you just put a stop order for 100 bucks a month coming in. If enough people did that, and there was some money coming in, Patricia could put a welcome the broom salesman on a cooking course, and somebody else we could print business cards for Kutlang, and we could put an ad somewhere. Do you see, we could run a whole lot of little separate business. It's just my idea. I have no idea if it's legal, if it's the right thing to do, or anything else. But that's where my thinking's going, because I have to think about this. You know, I can no longer run away. You've put me on TV.
Oh, absolutely. In terms of, let's look at car guards. And the other people that my heart goes out to are the people that come and recycle, scratch in your bins to recycle the bottles and the paper, etc., because they've got those trolleys, and boy, do they maneuver those trolleys.
Are astonishing.
It's unbelievable.
I love them.
What I started doing in my area is gave breakfast to the guy once a week on a Thursday. And I'm just wondering what else, you know, how can we mobilize communities to help those guys? Though I have been told they make easily up to between 4,000 to 5,000 rands a month. But that's beside the point. That is hard, back-breaking work.
You know, that almost fits in with conventional employment, that they all work for themselves. You won't believe this. When I started this thing, I'd listed a number of categories I would interview over time in my original introduction to the series. And someone contacted me and said, I've done a thesis on these recyclers. Wow. So I've got a 100-page thesis, which I've worked through, and I've got the figures and everything else. And they're going to be one of the ones I interview along the way. You know, I've just sort of been working my way through it. But they provide a service to the city that if they weren't here on our streets, we'd have to employ someone to do it. So in a sense, they're in a strange way, in proper work.
Part of an informal infrastructure.
Yeah, and I think they, you know, when you look at them, they very rarely look unhappy, and they always look so relaxed when they're hurtling down a hill at 60 k's an hour having a smoke. You know, I just think, how do you do this?
I'm waiting for a disaster to happen. We've got 2 minutes to wrap up time. Your thoughts on car guards?
Listen, I'm going to do them, and some of them are fantastic. Other ones just irritate me. You know, when they start telling you how to drive, I say, listen, I've been driving for an awfully long time. The interesting one is a category. I have this wonderful photographer, Charles Johnson. I mean, he is a top photographer in Joburg. He does this for nothing. Comes out, I give him, I say, I'll see you on corner of this, and he films, takes pictures that you can't believe. Said to me one day, Gemma, I'll keep doing this. he says, but there's one lot I'm not going to do. You find someone else to fill. I said, who's that? He said, it's the window washers, the squeegee girls.
Dear.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
They are very irritating, but they're also trying to make a living.
They're trying to live. Yeah.
In closing, what do you have to say to us? What do you want to say to the viewers today?
Well, I would say let's try to find our way through in life. Like, stay away from crime, drugs. Like, a lot of our brothers are nyaupe smokers, and it doesn't make me feel good. And some of them, they are also entertainers, and you see it gets very bad for our reputation.
David, you'll keep us posted as to
Thank you so much for having us here.
And of course, we're going to ask people watching us this morning with very big hearts and very deep pockets to perhaps get in touch with you to help make a difference.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for bringing the story to us and continue your amazing work. That was David Gemmell and Tusong. Kutlang. Why do I keep thinking Tusong? Kutlang, the juggler, and you can see him on the corner of Republic and William Nicol. Is that right?
Yes.
Take a drive out there. Sorry. Time for us to wrap up, and I have a frog in my throat, but we're almost at the end of the show. Thank you for watching. And this interview is going to be haunting me for a while now. I do know, and I have to also become involved in some way or form or the other, but we will keep you posted. We will get David in again sometime soon. Thank you for watching. Till the next time, as always, it is Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Alli.
Ya hala, 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 حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا، حن قلبي على جمعة الخير هلا، يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا، يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا، يا هلا ويا هلا ويا هلا ويا